Good evening, friends, and welcome again to thechefandthegrape.com. I am your host, Chef Christoph, and as always, I have something very special for you. Tonight, I'm talking about BC Uncorked. And what is BC Uncorked? It's one of the largest tastings of BC wines anywhere. Tonight's spotlight is on Painted Rock. An absolute icon in the BC wine industry, not yet 10 years old, and yet making a really huge impact in BC, in Canada, and around the world. So tonight I'm going to be focusing on their Chardonnay. This is the 2015 Chardonnay. Worthy of note, Painted Rock was the Intervin Winery of the Year for 2015-2016. Not the Canadian Winery of the Year, but the Winery of the Year, and is actually now involved with, or they have 2 generations of family members who are actively working in driving the success of Painted Rock and Canadian wine as well. So the winery was started by John Skinner. First vintage was, like I said, not even 10 years ago. And now Lauren Skinner, his daughter, is the sales and marketing director, if memory serves. Worthy of note, Lauren actually earned her business degree at the University of Bordeaux. So some pretty cool stuff. The lady knows a thing or two about wine, absolutely. And we couldn't be any happier having her at BC Uncorked, celebrating its 8th year, over 45 different BC wineries attending, making it, like I said, one of the largest tastings of BC wine anywhere. And it does raise funds for the Ride to End Cancer. That's our charity of choice. And at 8 years now, we've actually raised over $100,000 for the Ride to End Cancer. So bravo to the team, job well done. And of course, we couldn't be doing it without our wonderful participating wineries and restaurants, just like Painted Rock. And I want to tell you about their Chardonnay. And I'll tell you a quick personal story. Well, all right, let's be honest. I've never told a quick story in my life. But long story short, I actually met John when he was out spreading the word about Painted Rock's very first vintage. And I tasted through his wines with him. And I was very new to the industry. Very, very new and very unsure of myself. And so John pours the wines for me and he says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, the reds are a little rustic, but really have some great charm, and they already have concentration and balance and structure, so they're really coming along well, but honestly, I think that your Chardonnay is overpriced." And John, I don't think, was expecting that response, especially not from somebody who, like, who was I? Nobody knew who I was. I didn't even know who I was at that point. And he paused for a second. And then he said, "Well, I know what you mean, but wait for next year's release." Which next year's release came along, and it was actually well worth the money. And then the year after was even a bit better, and John didn't raise the price. And then the year after was better, and he still didn't raise the price. Now in its, Painted Rock is in its 7th vintage, I think, and they've only raised the price of their Chardonnay once. $5. So their Chardonnay, which I think is Premier-Cru in level, and in fact drinks a lot, like Montrachet, is $35. It's ridiculous. If you take a look at this wine in the glass, I mean, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's pale gold and silver highlights on the nose. Really does carry a lot of what people fall in love with Montrachet for. It's a crushed granite, steely sort of aroma. It's not quite as austere as Chablis. It has more warm apple and ripe pear tone to it. It has the smell of hay warming under the sun. It has hints of little summer and summer flowers, little white and yellow flowers, hints of chamomile. It's absolutely beautiful. And then on the palate, that's where this wine really sings. Just coming into its own, barely. I mean, it's a baby, right? Really needs a couple of years more of bottle aging just to soften out the edges. But it's bursting with life, bursting with concentration. Those mineral tones are so bright, so vibrant, so dialed in, and the Burgundians would say precise. They're tense. They're just like they're like a wild cat, right? Tensed up and just waiting to pounce. They're so full of kinetic energy. Yeah, the acid really bright, full on, and yet great balance. Huge structure, huge concentration. I mean, the flavor lasts and lasts and lasts. I actually made a pretty delicious little risotto to pair with this. Did a nice little double smoked farmer's sausage with fresh Dungeness crab. Just that little bit of smokiness, and then you probably won't see it in the photo, but I added Italian parsley for the grown-ups too, just to add a little bit of herbaceousness. And the Chardonnay love that little bit of fresh herb, which actually lurks inside of the wine, but it's hidden beneath the piercing minerality and the sea salt tones and that sort of thing. Absolute sommelier's dream. I love this wine. This is 92 plus points, 93 points of world-class Chardonnay at $35. Honestly, it's a steal of a deal. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to focus on it at BC Uncorked's first masterclass. So I hope that you guys can make it down for BC Uncorked. It's 11th of March. We're basically sold out already. So you got to get on it if you want tickets. And in the masterclass, Lauren Skinner will be there, and she will be pouring the 2015 and the 2012 of the Painted Rock Chardonnay. So I hope you look for this in your local market. It's actually widely available, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I.